Rusame reader, Crow Song, and today I will be reading to you from Beneath the Surface by Unnamed Untold. Before we get into this chapter, I'm going to read the warnings. Depression, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempt, anorexia, bulimia, and vulgar language. Now, on to Chapter 13, Day 20. I slowly stalked my prey across the house, hidden in shadows and behind objects. He doesn't see me or sense my presence. His back is turned, and he focuses on something on the table. I strike. "Frederica, what are you doing?" Ivan asked when I jumped on his back. "Why are you dressed like that?" A mask that looked like a deer skull that had big horns with many points sat on my face. "I am a Wendigo. That's the answer to both questions." I took the mask off, smiled, and lightly bit his shoulder. "Why?" "It's Halloween. You're supposed to dress up in a scary costume." I laughed. "And yeah, this is what we're doing tonight." "What are we doing?" he asked, turning around. Apparently, a farm here does this haunted hayride that leads to a haunted house, and it's supposed to be super scary. So I thought that maybe we should dress up and go check the place out. I asked. That sounds fun, but I do not have a costume," he said. "Don't worry, I made you one too." I giggled excitedly. I turned around and headed for my room. "Is that what you've been up to all morning?" he asked as he followed me up the stairs. "Yep, I found my old sewing kit and some fabric, so I decided to make us some costumes. And I made you," I said, hopping to my desk, "a devil costume complemented with its very own matching scarf." I held up the black and red fabric. The costume kind of looked like his two-piece outfit, with a few differences. One was that the boots and sleeves of the coat were armor-plated. Down the front and back of the coat were demonic symbols in writing. The gloves had sharp claw-like nails attached. Finally, attached to the headband, the color of his hair, were two black curled horns. "Frederica, this is amazing. You made all of these by hand?" he asked, taking the coat. "Yeah, I've been working on them for the past couple of days, since right before we went to the meeting." I made a face when I mentioned that place. "I kept it a secret so I could surprise you. I just finished up with the last editions this morning," I stated proudly. "Well done, Frederica. You can hardly tell this is hand stitches," he said, examining the stitchwork more closely. "Thanks. I've had years of practice, and black is easier to use anyway." I blushed slightly. "So, when is the hayride?" he asked. "Oh, not until 7, I said as I checked the time. It was only 2:13. "I get excited on this day. It's so much fun." "I can tell," he chuckled as he placed the coat back on the bed. "Oh, I was listening to the radio this morning. There is going to be a snowstorm starting tomorrow evening. It is said that it might turn into a blizzard by the time it reaches us," he informed me as we started walking back down the stairs. "Okay, weird for this time of year, but not unheard of. We need to pick up a few things from the store then. And we need to chop some wood in case the power goes out. It did that a couple times over the years I've been here," I said as I thought about all the things that I needed to get. Maybe some hay for the bunnies as well. "I can chop down some wood while you head into the store tomorrow. Get those things done at once," he offered. "Cool, that makes things go by faster," I agreed as I started poking around in the kitchen and made a list of the things we're going to need. "Hey, you want to know what my favorite part of Halloween is?" "The 50% off on candy the next day," I grinned. You are a child. He shook his head fondly. I stuck out my tongue at him in response. Point proven. I rolled my eyes and turned around. Remember, you picked me. That I did. He hugged me from behind. He kissed my temple and I cuddled into him. He held me for a long time while I enjoyed the embrace. I was so relaxed I almost fell over when he stepped back. Luckily, I caught myself. Sorry, Frederick, I did not realize you were leaning that much on me. He apologized. It's fine. Hey, do you think I need to pick up blankets while I'm at the store? We spent the next couple of hours going through the house to look for anything that I may need to get. We also checked to make sure the house could withstand a harsh storm. While I went about covering up the windows and walking down certain parts of the house, Ivan made us an early dinner. I walked into the kitchen and was welcomed with the smell of spaghetti. Pasta? Is Italy in the house? I joked. Yet, I thought that you would like something different tonight, he said as I got down a couple of plates. It smells good, I told him as I set the table. I heard a crunch from my left and looked to see Hero eating. Hey, is it just me or is Hero getting a little round? I don't mean fat, but her stomach is a little more circular. It is probably from all of the mice and squirrels that Lampushka keeps bringing her, Ivan said, glancing over. Wait, Lampushka keeps bringing her small rodents? Is that what all the red stuff I keep cleaning up is? I said, mortified. Every afternoon when I let him out. About 20 minutes later, he comes back with a small rodent for her, he said with a bright smile. Oh, gross, I said, making a face. What, is a small dead animal too much for you? He teased. No, it's in my house. I have no problem with one animal eating another, as long as it's outside, I said, upset. Whatever, it's not like the cats know that I hate it. I sat down at a table as he put a plate in front of me. How long has he been doing that? About 3 days after we first arrived. I was cleaning up the mess, but then you took over. No wonder why my cat is getting fat. After dinner, we got changed into our costumes. I gave him his so he could change in his old room, while I changed in ours. Since the first night we slept together, we have done so every night since. He had moved some of his clothes in here as well. I was wearing a full-body black costume that showed off my curves. The occasional tear made it look like it was ripped off flesh and wounds. Fake black fur lined the top of my shoulders and down the sides of my arms, and down my back to my tailbone. Long, sharp nails were stitched into the gloves and painted to look like they had blood on them. I made a pair of shoes look like a set of sharp, dark gray hooves. I had put a little eyeliner around my eyes and smudged it a bit. This will better hide my eyes behind my mask. I had my mask in my hand because I needed to drive and it was kind of hard to see out of. I stepped out to see that he was already dressed. I looked at him up and down as I came to one conclusion. He was hot. Judging by his facial expression, he thought the same about me. I smirked and walked up to him, swaying my hips slightly for extra effect. Well, don't you look good? I said flirtatiously while batting my eyelashes and wrapping an arm around his neck. And you look sexy, he said in a husky voice as he ran his hands down my sides and rested them on my hips. I never noticed how curvy you were until now. Well, with my natural strength, I don't need to beef up like other nations do. I can stay slim, which allows for great speed and agility. And your full hips? That's just genetics, I guess. I shrugged. Now, come on, Mr. Dubin. I want to go get some free candy. I booped him on the nose and took off down the stairs. I grabbed my jacket and ran out to the car. A few moments later, Ivan joined me, both our phones in his hands. Forgetting something, he smirked. I ducked my head and took the phone. The good news is that the farm is only about half an hour away. So we're going to get there a little early, but we'll be able to roast some marshmallows beforehand. That's good. I don't think I would like to have stayed in the car with this costume for very long, he said, adjusting the scarf. Why? Is there something wrong with it? I asked, biting my lip. Nothing too bad. It is just a little tight in some places, he said with a small blush. Sorry, I didn't have your exact measurements, I said sheepishly. Do not worry, you did a good job for not knowing, he smiled reassuringly. I turned on the radio to a holiday station that would play songs for whatever holiday was next. I figured this was the best way to set the mood. This Is Halloween, the Nightmare Before Christmas version, came on. I started singing along to every song the second I heard it. I tried to get Ivan to sing along as well, but he only smiled and shook his head. I rolled my eyes and continued singing anyways. I didn't stop until we reached the farm. There were already quite a few cars, but not enough to suggest an overabundance of people. I pulled into the parking spot and shut the car off. You know, you have quite an amazing voice. It is really smooth and steady, he commented when the radio died. Oh, thank you. I didn't realize you could hear me over the radio. I blushed and picked up my mask from where I'd put it in the back seat. I could. I don't see why you are shy about it. You are very talented, he complimented. Yeah. Oh, look at these pumpkins. They're so neat looking, I said as I inspected one of the pumpkins that was sitting on a hay bale pile. It looked like a real hissing black cat. The one next to it was Frankenstyle, classic style. The one on top of the bale looked like a real Black Widow. They had even carved out the inside of the hourglass so that it looked just right and glowed an orange-red color. They were so cool. Come on, Vanya, let's see what else they got, I said excitedly as I put my mask on. Slow down, Frederica. We'll see it soon enough. He laughed as he ran to catch up with me. I reluctantly slowed down. The first place we visited was the farmhouse, which had a giant spider on the front. Its eyes lit up and it made a high-pitched noise. I yelped when I saw it move suddenly, as did a few of the little kids. I blushed in embarrassment and hurried inside the building. The decorations inside were amazing. Spider webs were everywhere on the walls and the ceiling, along with fake blood and human entrails. Lights flashed and horror music played in the background. On a table in the living room were a couple of buckets that had different labels on them, including eyeballs and human brains. On another table were different treats: candy, candy apples, candy corn, and cotton candy. There were also several drinks, including a bowl that said adults only. A man tended to the table to make sure that no teenagers tried to get at the adult fruit punch. This place is so cool, I shouted to be able to hear over all the noise. But maybe we should head outside to the fire pit. Might be less crowded, he shouted back. Sure, let me get a drink real quick, I said, slipping away to the table. I grabbed a cup of Cokes, but I turned around and bumped into someone. Oh, sorry, miss. Hey, don't I know you? I asked the girl, dressed in an Alice in Wonderland costume. I took off my mask. I hook the antlers on a little loop made specifically for it so that I can take it off and not have to hold on to it. Yeah, you met me at the flower shop, she said in the familiar voice. Alice, it's nice to see you again, I said excitedly as I recognized the smaller blonde. How have you been? Great, considering it's only been a day, she laughed. Yeah, I guess. So, are you here with anyone? Yeah, I'm here with my boyfriend. He's right over there, I said, pointing to him. He stood by the back door while he waited for me. He is the lovely guy I was telling you about. He sure is the looker. I'm here with my girlfriend, but I can't find her. We got separated in the backyard, and I thought that she might come in here to look for me. She told me. Maybe she's still in the yard. Ivan and I can help you look for her if you'd like, I offered. That'll be so much help, thank you, she said, following me. Well, that's what heroes do. We help people. I laughed. Hey, Ivan, we need to help my friend over here to look for her girlfriend. Okay, what does she look like? He asked. She's a little taller than me, had strawberry blonde hair that is more red than yellow, and has deep gray eyes, she told us. Also, she is dressed up as the Mad Hatter. Okay, let's find us a Mad Hatter, I cheered and led them outside. It was a lot less cramped out here, and a lot more quiet as well. The fire provided most of the light, along with a few torches, pumpkins, and glow sticks. The smell of burning wood and s'mores filled my nose the second I came out, and I hummed in delight. I looked around, but didn't catch sight of anyone that looked like a Mad Hatter. There were lots of other costumes, some cool-looking and some really scary. I don't see her here, I said as we walked around. Maybe she's in the corn maze? Alice offered. Maybe. Let's check it out, I said, leading the way. The corn maze was actually really spooky. Scarecrows were placed all around, figures should pop out and of the shadows. Big crows would occasionally caw at us and make me and Alice jump. And every once in a while, we would hear what sounded like a chainsaw. Alice and I stuck close together as we walked through the maze while Ivan brought up the rear. I don't think she's in here, I stuttered out nervously. Same, she agreed. We turned around to go back the way we came when someone jumped out of the corn maze. Boo! Ah! We both shouted and grabbed each other. Rose! Alice cried out. Suddenly, someone else jumped out from the other side with the chainsaw. Grr, I'm gonna kill all of you! Ah! We both shrieked and took off running. We didn't pay attention to where we were going. We only ran. We eventually made it out of the cornfield and darted across the backyard. I led us through the house, up the stairs, and into a bedroom closet. We sat there, shaking and tightly hugging each other. Do you think it followed us? She asked in a whisper. I don't know, maybe, I whispered back. Oh no, do you think it got Rose and Ivan? She asked worriedly. No, Ivan is really strong. He won't let anything happen to him or her, I reassured her. Quiet, quiet, I hear footsteps. She shushed me. We both quieted ourselves as the footsteps grew nearer. There were 2 steps, one noticeably heavier than the other. They entered the room and we held our breaths. Frederica, are you in here? I heard Ivan ask. Vanya! I cried out, relieved. The closet door opened to reveal 2 worried people. Both shot down to our level to hold and comfort us. Alice! Rose, you escaped, Alice said happily. Well, of course we escaped. It was all fake. The man wasn't really going to kill you, Ivan said with a laugh as he patted my back. Yeah, scaredy cats, we're fine. You just let your imagination get the best of you, Rose said reassuringly. Come on out, the both of you. We still have s'mores and they hayride to do. Ivan gently coaxed us out. You'll be with us through the whole hayride, right? I asked, as I stood up and walked out. No, he said with a small smile and kissed me briefly. I blushed a little, but I smiled back happily. I turned when I heard a giggle. You two are so cute, Rose said. It was then that I noticed she was the same one from both the diner and the stand at the fair. Wow, I keep running into you, I said, surprised. Yeah, I noticed that too, she smiled. A small world. Ish, I giggled. So, how about we get us some s'mores now, huh? I could use a little snack after chasing you two all over the farm. She laughed as they let us out. The sticky treat was exactly what we needed to finish calming down. I hummed in delight as I ate the crunchy, gooey mixture while being warmed by the fire pit. I chatted excitedly with Alice about different kinds of flowers while we waited for the hayride to start. Next to us, our significant others talked about different kinds of guns from throughout the years. All right, everybody, a voice shouted, getting all of our attention. The hayride's about to start. The ones who want to visit the haunted house are the first to go. After that, only the ones who want to enjoy the hayride will go. Please line up by the oak tree off the path if you want the haunted house, and by the pond if you want the hayride. A cheer went around the crowd, and several people got up. I grabbed Ivan's and Alice's hands, who in turn grabbed Rose's, and dragged them to the haunted house line. I laughed excitedly as we almost got in line first. This is going to be so much fun, I said as I bounced a little. Yeah, I hear about how scary that it is every year from people around town, but this is the first year I'll be doing it. I've been too scared to in the past years, but I'm not this year, Alice said, just as excitedly. You two ran and hid inside a closet from a man who jumped out at you in a cornfield. Do you really think you should do a haunted house that is known for being the scariest thing in a 100-mile radius? Rose asked skeptically. It won't be that bad, Alice waved her off. Yeah, and we have you guys, I agreed as I signed a waiver. I'm dating a nut job. Ivan shook his head as he signed the waiver as well. I can't believe that you're now just figuring that out, I laughed as I got on the ride. All right, people, the driver started as we all quieted down. Please keep your hands and feet in the cart at all times. If you feel like you need to throw up, please use the bucket provided under each seat. If you need to get off the cart for any reason, just click the button closest to you. Please stay seated and enjoy the ride. I bounced to my spot in excitement. I got the end seat, so I was at the back of the cart. I noticed that the cart didn't have a tailgate or anything else to stop people or things from rolling off. A little weird, but whatever. Maybe it had broken off or something. The ride drove into a forest that had most of its leaves gone. This created claw-like branches that mixed with deep shadows, making it look extra spooky. The half moon provided just enough light to put everyone on edge. At first, nothing happened, making the ride almost pleasant. That was until we heard demonic laughter. My heart rate started picking up speed at that. What the hell is that? I asked, looking behind me. It's me, a demonic voice growled. I almost jumped out of my skin and shouted when the demon face popped up in front of me. It reached out to grab me, but missed when I pulled back. It and several others trotted along the side of the cart, hitting and grabbing at people. Once or twice, one would threaten to drag them to hell. Then they were all replaced with people with chainsaws. I recognized one as the person who jumped out at us earlier and pressed up against Ivan, who was busy laughing. That one noticed me and ran for me. He put the saw on the cart and swiped at my legs with a dark laugh. I screamed a little and raised my legs up. I noticed that it was fake, but it was still convincing enough to freak me out. I felt Ivan take my hand and hold me closer. I smiled up at him, but almost lost balance when something rammed into the cart. I looked over to see a bunch of people dressed in clothes from an insane asylum. Some ripped, others still in place, and a few not in any at all. A girl's face popped up in front of me and laughed hysterically. "Do you want to come play?" they asked in a twisted, childlike voice. "No, thank you," I said back. "Come play with us." She grabbed my shoulders and pulled a little. I had to brace myself against the side of the cart to not fall over and gave a shout. She laughed again and started trying to shake the cart along with several others. They eventually stopped following us and instead laughed at us from the other side of the invisible line. I stared wide-eyed at them. Next, I hear loud moans and groans from the woods. A horde of zombies came. At this point, I started to freak out a little. They surrounded the cart, banging on it and reaching in to try and grab people. In an attempt to get one away from me, I scooched over and my leg was grabbed by another hand. I shrieked as it pulled me off my seat. Ivan dove down and picked me up by my shoulders and pulled me away from the undead flesh eater. I wanted to scramble to free myself from it as well. Eventually, they let go, and the horrid things following us in a slow shamble. "Frederica, are you all right?" he asked me as I sat back down in my seat. Yeah, I'm fine," I started out. "That was horrifying, but fun," I said, unconvincingly. "And we're here, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not push to get off the ride and follow the guide. Have a nice evening and enjoy the house. It'll be the last one you ever go into," the driver said darkly. We got off the ride and followed the guide to the house. He was dressed up like a monster with razor-sharp teeth and blood dripping down his face. He stood up on the first step and faced the crowd. "To enter the house, you must be part of a group of 4 or more. If you are not part of a group, then please join one. Now, the rules are not to climb on anything, not to try to hit anything or anyone. Stick together and have fun. Now line up." We all fell into a short line of only 4 groups. Ours was third. He let the first group into the dark house. I took the opportunity to take a good look around at the outside of the house. A small fake cemetery stood in the front yard. The trees were all dead and covered in cobwebs. The house was painted black with spots that had questionable liquids dropping down from the side. Lights flickered from some of the rooms, while others were completely dark. Now and then I would see a figure in the window before it moved away. From the inside, screams of terror were heard. People around town did not do this place justice. This place looks a lot scarier on the outside than I had imagined, Alice said nervously from next to me. "Yeah, it does. It probably has all sorts of horrible and terrifying things in there," I added with a slight nod. "Maybe like twisted up ghouls and monsters," she whispered. "Vampires and zombies that will try to eat us alive," I shuddered. "Spiders and scorpions with toxic venom with slowly and painfully enough to kill you. Or maybe werewolves that will rip you apart piece by piece until you're nothing but a bloody mess." "Oh, you two are letting your imaginations get the best of you again. Nothing in there is real, except for the actors." Rose tried calming us. "I doubt it has anything too scary. Everything is fake and we will be fine," Ivan said in a reassuring tone. Just then, the group came running back out of the house, screaming, and they were being chased by a figure with a large machete. They fled down some hidden path I assumed led to the cart. "That was fast. Normally, people are in there for at least 15 minutes. Oh well, next group," the guide said. "Alice?" I started. "Yes, Alfred?" "I think we may have bit off a bit more than we can chew," I finished. "So do I." As we waited for the next group to come out, we slowly got more and more nervous. Random screams would make us jump and huddle closer together. Ivan would try his best to calm me, but the tension was killing me. The other cart from behind us finally caught up, and the line grew. Finally, after 25 minutes, the group ran out being chased by several hooded figures. "Okay, next group," the guide said, waving us along. I swallowed nervously, but stepped forward anyway. I led the little group into the house, and the door slammed shut behind us. I gave a little jump at the loud bang, breathing to steady myself. I opened a different door. This one led to a hallway filled with dead bodies. Some were torn open, and others were completely torn apart. Guts hung from the ceiling, and the lights flashed. "This isn't so bad," I said, calming a little. "Oh, is it now?" a witch-like voice said before the lights went out. I heard running, and all of a sudden I'm being dragged across the next room. Next to me is Alice being carried. I screamed and struggled, but ended up being picked up as well. "Vanya!" I cried out in panic. My heart started beating faster as fear set in. "Frederica!" I heard him shout before I heard a loud bang and a lock click in place. I was dropped, and I heard the feet scatter. Then the lights came back on. The people were gone, and I'm not sure where they went. Next to me was Alice, where she was dropped as well. I looked around the room with 3 doors and 1 hanging light bulb and stood up. Each door had something on it. The one to our left had a bunch of creepy smiley face and creepy writing. "Come play with us," and "It always watches." Were a few. On the door in front of us, it was covered in stab marks and blood. The door to our right had long claw marks down either side. On the small table in the middle was a note saying, "Pick your poison." I was officially creeped out. "Are you okay?" I asked her as I helped her up. "Yeah, I'm fine. I just didn't think they would grab us," she said shakily. "Come on, we need to find the others," I said, picking the door to our right. When we stepped through, the lock clicked behind us. I tested the door and found that we could not go back through that way. I gulped but turned around to face the new hall. It led to an area that had a blood trail that led around the corner. There were no lights except for the windows. Slowly, we followed the trail and peeked around the corner. I gasped quietly at what I saw and put my hand over my mouth. Sitting in the middle of the hall was a werewolf eating the body of a man. I looked away and down the hall. About 20 feet in front of the wolf was another door. I ducked back around and faced Alice, who looked pale. "Okay, this is what we're going to do," I whispered. "We're going to sneak around that thing and get to the door. We'll move when it's eating so it's harder for it to detect us, okay?" She nodded her head and followed me. I slowly walked out from behind the wall, keeping myself pressed up against the wall as best I could. We inched past the beast. Twice we stopped and held our breaths when it stopped eating. Finally, we made it to the other end of the hall. I reached for the door handle to try and turn it, only to find that it was locked. The beast growled from behind us, and we froze. I slowly turned around. Blood-red eyes were glaring back at me. It abandoned its meal to stalk us, growing closer with each step. I started trying to force the lock open. "Hurry, Alfred, it's getting closer!" Alice screamed next to me. "I'm trying!" I shouted back, panicked. I pulled on the handle harder and harder as the monster got closer. Just as it was about to pounce, the door finally opened, allowing us to escape. We darted through and slammed the door in its face. I braced myself against the door as the monster tried breaking it down. My breath came out hard and wild. "Oh my god, that thing almost killed us," Alice whimpered. "It's okay, we're fine now. It's trapped on the other side." I tried calming her, but I doubt my frightened voice helped any. I pulled away from the door when the beast finally stopped trying to break it down. "What now?" she asked in a more steady voice. Keep going forward, I guess." I took a few steps down the short hallway. To our right looked like a jail cell. It was dark inside, and I could barely make out the bodies on the floor. I counted them, 5 in total. Alice came up next to me and peered inside as well. "Can you see what's in there?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, 5 bodies, I think," I said, as one shot up and reached its hands through the bar. We jumped back in surprise and gave a shout. Suddenly, more bloody, decayed-looking hands came through and tried to grab at us. Torn-up faces and wild eyes glared at us from the other side of the bars. Moans and growls sounded from the beings, identifying them as the undead. Zombies. "Zombies? This is my worst nightmare!" Alice shouted as she backed away. "Yeah, let's get out of here. Start trying the doors," I shouted in a panic when I noticed that the cell had started to fall down. "One of them has got to open." The cell fell down, letting loose the horde. They slowly shambled their way after us. We ran down the hall, trying every door. Some were locked and some wouldn't budge. Others opened to reveal a wall behind them. We made it to the end of the hall, and not a single door worked. "We're gonna die," Alice cried. I looked around and noticed an open vent under some boxes. "The hell we are!" I pulled her over and started pushing her up on the boxes. She got the hint and started to climb through the hole. The zombies were only a few feet away when I scrambled up the boxes. One grabbed my foot, and I screamed. I shook the foot hard, and it let go. I dove through the vent and fell onto a pile of clothes on the other side. From the other side, we could hear the enraged growls and screeches. "That was close," I said as Alice helped me up. "There's an open door down the hall. Maybe it'll lead us to the others," she said and pointed to the door. "Okay, let's try it." I started walking down the long, dark hall when I heard laughter from behind us. I turned to peer into the darkness and made out a big shape. It looked like it was holding something in its hands. It took a step forward, and we took one back. It slowly raised its arm, and a long blade gleamed in the faint light. My heartbeat quickened, and we let out a scream when it started charging at us. We turned tail and fled down the hall as fast as we could. I dove through first and got ready to shut the door. The second she shot through, I slammed it shut, and it locked. I stared wide-eyed at the door, my heart pounding in my ears, and waited. I waited a few moments, but no noise came from the other side. It's like he just disappeared. "What the actual fuck?" I whispered. Alfred, look at where we are," Alice said, and I turned around. I looked around shocked and noticed that we had made a full circle. We were back in the starting room. "Oh, come on!" "The first door is still closed. We need to go through the last one," she said shakily. "Okay, you ready?" I said, steadying myself. "As I'll ever be," she nodded. I hesitantly opened the door to reveal what looked like some normal hallway. The walls were lined with pictures that looked like a child drew 'em. They were creepy cute, as they didn't seem to belong here. As we walked down the hall, the pictures got more and more disturbing. What started off as cute little bunnies and flowers slowly turned into twisted demons and human sacrifices. I opened the door at the end of the hall and was met with a pitch-black room. I moved to make a step back when hands snatched us up and dragged us in. I let out a shout and stumbled to the ground. Next to me, Alice squealed in fright and hit the floor as well. Suddenly, dark red lights lit up the room around us. People in dark hoods surrounded us with red candles. In front of us was a man in a black and red hood and a crown made from teeth on a pedestal. He looked down at us with a sinister smile. The door we came from was guarded by several hooded figures. I scanned the room to look for a different exit. Behind us, to our left, was a door that was slightly ajar. Welcome to our covenant. We are so pleased to have you here. After all, we cannot perform the ceremony without the sacrifice. He laughed darkly, as a pair of demons came out from behind him. I froze. Everything slowed down as panic set in. My heart rate jumped and my breathing became erratic. My eyes widened as fear started to course through my veins. Flashbacks ran through my head of a similar incident that happened many years ago. Alfred, are you okay? I heard Alice say, but it sounded far away. I didn't answer her. Instead, I grabbed her hand and made a break for the door. I pushed several of the hooded men out of my way and shot through the door. I barely looked where I was going and crashed into walls and furniture. My only focus was on getting us out. Frederica! I heard someone shout and screeched to a halt. Vanya! I shouted back. From down the hall, I heard two sets of footsteps. One was the one we just came from, and the other was from a mystery hall. I stood there in fright and watched both. Out from one hall came rose-down Ivan. Ivan! I ran up to him and hugged him tightly. I buried my face into his scarf as he hugged me back. Alfred, are you okay? What's wrong? He asked worriedly. I want to go home, I whimpered. It's okay. We found the exit. We're leaving, he whispered as he ushered us down another hallway. Not so fast. We still need to perform the ceremony, and none of you are leaving this place alive. The man yelled as the demons started chasing us. Come on, this way, Rose said, taking the lead. As we ran through the maze-like halls, I kept close to Ivan. He seemed to pick up on my fear and kept looking at me, worriedly. We finally burst out through a door and ran down a path through the forest. Behind us, the demons continued to chase us, but not as enthusiastically. We ran down the path until we made it to the cart. Finally, we stopped to take a breath. Never, ever, ever let me do that again, Alice whimpered into Rose's shoulder. I nodded in agreement from where I had buried my face in Ivan's shoulder. That was insane. I don't know what you two went through, but ours wasn't that bad. We were on the second floor, Rose told us. Let's just go home, I whispered. That may be the best thing to do, Ivan agreed. The trip back to the farm was spent in silence. Alice and I were too shaken up to talk to the other two, and they were too busy calling us to engage in conversation. Luckily, we didn't go through the haunted part of the forest, so we had time to calm down. When we got back to the farm, it was almost 10. We hopped out of the cart, said our goodbyes, and went our separate ways. Ivan offered to drive since I was still shaken up. The first part of the car ride was spent in silence. I didn't want to talk, only keep an eye out. After a while, though, he wanted to talk. What happened, Frederica? I've only seen you go through things more terrifying than that, than coming out a little shaken. You never acted like that before. Are you okay? He asked me gently. I was silent for a little while before answering. Do you remember how I said Vivika protected my siblings and I from something? The thing she protected us from was our mother, Native America. I laid my head down on the door. She hated us because she knew that we were going to replace her and her firstborn tribe children. People like us who represented tribes instead of countries, and for some reason she hated me more than any of the others. Well, what happened was that she kidnapped me from Vivika one night when I was really little. I think I was only 4 physically. It was midnight of a true blood moon, a time when dark magic is at its strongest and dark ceremonies are performed. Her plan was to sacrifice me to the demon of the true blood moon night, so she and her firstborn could keep their lands. She tied me up with bramble and thorns and put me in the center of an open field. I was gagged as well, so Vinland couldn't find me easily. They started chanting in this weird, demeaning language, and the whole sky turned blood red. I was terrified. After she and her eldest performed a ceremony to summon the demon to this realm, she offered me to him. The demon gave her power to kill my siblings and stop their nations from forming, but he could only collect me as payment. Vivika busted into the clearing. She knocked the demon away from me, picked me up, and ran away with me. The demon and several of its minions were hot on our trail. Literally. They burned down part of the forest to get to us. But before they could, Vivi chucked us into a cave and behind a waterfall. We hid there until dawn. That was when the demon had to leave. I'm not sure what happened to the demon, but Native America was able to keep most of her new powers. I told my story. We were there in the driveway by now. Ivan was looking at me, shocked, as I told my tale. I stayed silent. I didn't even move to get out. A few tears dripped down my face. I felt his hand brush away a few tears. She did that to you because you were going to replace her? He asked, horrified. I nodded my head. She hated us. She tried so many times to kill us, but Vivika never let it happen. She trained us so that we could fight against her and survive. Native was strong, probably stronger than I am now. She did represent all of the Americas. It was a miracle that we survived. I laughed dryly. Well, in the haunted house, there was a part that was going to sacrifice Alice and I to a couple of demons, and I freaked out a little bit. It brought up the memories. Alfred looked at me, he said, and I turned to face him. I'm sorry that you had to go through something like that, especially while you were so young. No one should ever have to go through something like that, and I promise I will never let that happen to you again. You don't have to fear it anymore. He kissed me. I smiled when we broke apart. Thanks, big guy. Something else happened that night that I forgot to mention. What? He asked, worried. I can see ghosts because of it. I don't really know why, I told him as we got out of the car. Seriously? He asked, bewildered. Yeah, they mostly leave me alone, and I'll help where I can, but that's why I'm afraid of them. I know they exist, I said as we walked into the house. You are a box of infinite surprises, Frederica. I love you. He kissed my temple. I love you too. I hummed and finally relaxed. And that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you. Just enjoy your time. And I will see you tomorrow.